Hey everybody, welcome to Ivancast podcast. You're listening to Ivancast podcast. Welcome to Ivancast podcast. Welcome to the podcast. Okay, so we are on the air now. Tenesha, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being part of the show. I'm honored to have you on the podcast. I have become a big fan of your music. Are you cool to hang out for about half an hour and just talk a little bit about your music?
Sure.
Cool. Well, first of all, crazy sort of difficult times we're living in right now. Social distance, isolation. What do you think is the best part of just being at home right now because of the quarantine? How are you spending your time?
Well, right now, I'm a teacher, so I'm a special education teacher. So I've been spending a lot of the day contacting parents and preparing work for my students to do while they're out of school. They're going to be out of school probably for at least 2 weeks. And my own students, my own children are home for 3 weeks. And so we have been spending the first part of the what they call a stay in place, shelter in place. We've been watching scary movies and eating junk food. So I've been enjoying the best part has just been spending time with my kids, and not having any place to be,
Yeah. So you're a teacher. What do you teach?
I teach special education. My students are identified as having emotional disabilities. So that's who I teach. I love it. They're great.
Sounds pretty interesting. And let's forget for a minute about all these viruses and diseases, and let's talk about music and bring some hope and some good vibes out there. I think music, in my case, has given me hope many times when life was hard. So let's try to do the same with this podcast.
Absolutely. Music is medicine.
Yeah, definitely. When I heard your album Peacocks and other Savage Beasts, right? I just thought, what a graceful, wonderful mixture of genres and textures and sounds. There is poetry there. Who or what introduced you to music? How did you get into music?
Well, I grew up in a where music was always like around me, from my grandmother playing her gospel and blues, and there's always music in the background. So I have a soundtrack for my entire life. So I've always loved music. I really began to love music when my mother had a record collection, and I would listen to those records all the time. And I really loved the sound of the static when the needle hit the vinyl, and also the album covers. The album covers were always so beautiful, the art on the covers, so that's when I really began to love music. And I wanted to sing, but I didn't have a voice for it. And then I decided I wanted to play an instrument, but then that, because of our home situation, I didn't necessarily always have access to instruments or a music program, and we moved around so much, So the next best thing was, I was a writer. That's something I can always do. So I began to write and to write poetry and to write lyrics for songs, and that's how it began.
Great. Can you name some of the artists maybe or musicians that you were listening to at that time? We're talking about vinyls, right?
Vinyls, yeah. That was my first love, vinyls.
Yeah, definitely.
So I loved Hiroshima. My mother would play that song over and over again. It was Ichi ni Sanchi Go. And at the time, I didn't know that they were counting to 5. But I used to love that album. She played a lot of Minnie Riperton. and she played a lot of, Stevie Wonder and Michael Franks, and so a lot of jazz, a lot of
A lot of
Miles
jazz.
Davis and Coltrane, and
Oh,
then that music that's like right on that borderline,
yeah.
acid jazz. She played a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I am a musician myself, and I also remember discovering all those jazz artists, like you mentioned, Miles Davis and Coltrane. It's just such beautiful music, right?
It is beautiful. Have you watched any of the documentaries about? There's one about Miles Davis that's out right now. It's pretty interesting,
Uh-huh. No, I haven't.
and yeah, check it out. I love to watch the documentaries about those earlier music, even earlier than Miles.
Yeah.
Those musicians,
Hmm.
they're fascinating because they sort of invented jazz and
Hmm.
they invented those sounds, and so that to watching them invent those things to me is fascinating.
Definitely, yeah. I'm more like into funk and soul music, so I used to watch all the Motown documentaries, Stax too, the Funk Brothers, and they
Yes.
really inspire me to get it,
Hmm.
like playing bass guitar.
Yes.
Do you play any musical
Yeah.
instruments too?
No, I didn't play any musical instruments. I used to, when I was a little girl, play the viola,
Hmm.
but like I said, we were kind of we moved around a lot when I was young,
Yeah,
and so there was always a like a start and then an inability to completely finish
yeah.
every time I decided on an instrument that I was interested in.
I see. Where were you born?
So I was born in Milwaukee,
Hmm.
Wisconsin, here in the U.S.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then when I was still a baby, my mother moved us to Oakland, California, and that's where I spent the majority
Hmm.
of my childhood.
Hmm. Nice, wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about your last album. How do you record your songs? How is like the creative process of writing, recording songs? Do you have a studio at home, or how do you deal with all that?
It's kind of it gets kind of complicated sometimes because I'm in the United States,
Yeah,
and my the producer DJ Khalab, he is in Europe.
yeah, yeah.
So one of the things that I would do is I would record my vocals
Uh huh.
and I would send them to him, and I would give him and I would tell him,
Uh huh.
when I read this poem, this is the sound I hear,
Yeah.
and then I would tell him what kind of sound I'm hearing when I
Uh huh.
music,
Uh huh.
and he would develop the music.
Really? Wow,
You know,
that's so
yeah,
fascinating.
and yeah, he really dope. Like,
Yeah.
and then there would be times when I would simply send him my vocals,
Mm-hmm.
and then he would just develop a sound around the vocals, and he would send it
Wow.
to me and ask me, does this work?
Uh-huh, uh-huh. So you just record your
Yeah,
vocals at home. You have like sort of a small studio at home.
I do. I use GarageBand on my
Garage.
phone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, okay, cool. I'm also using GarageBand for the podcast here.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah,
Simple.
simple.
I'm still learning it.
Yeah, yeah, cool. That's really cool. So, talking about what you just said, you are uh, recording your vocals at home and then sending it to Europe to the DJ. Uh, is this the future of music? Do you have you ever thought about the music of the future from your perspective? What can we expect from, I don't know, 30 years, 40 years from now?
What do I think music will be like?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I actually I'm hopeful about the fact that music will, because everything happens in cycles.
Yeah,
And so I grew up listening to the vinyls, but then by the time I was a teenager, it was CDs, right?
yeah.
And then now it's all digital. And
Napster.
I'm hoping like 30, yeah, Napster and all that.
Yeah,
And now I'm hoping like 30, 40 years from now that once again, that everybody will be back into vinyls
yeah.
or at least into that sound, like real instrumentation, like really paying attention to how music can be layered and how each instrument can give music depth. I'm hoping that we'll be back to substance in our
Yeah,
music,
yeah.
and I'm also hoping that there won't have to be such strict categories for our music. Like right now, I really love Afro beats. I love what they call Afro soca here in the States. I love it, but it's a mix of so many beautiful sounds, and I think it brings people together. And I hope that there won't be a need for so many boxes in the future.
That's really cool. So, would you mind if we listen to one of your songs now before coming back to the last part of the podcast?
Sure.
Yeah. White folks can call me nigga. What can you tell us about this song? What was your inspiration? The lyrics, the music? I love it, by the way. It's really, really nice. It's really cool.
I'm glad you like it. Why white folks can't call me nigga? I developed that because it's in the United States, that word nigga is very controversial because it's a word that we use, black people. It's an intercultural word that black people use to sometimes speak and communicate things to each other. It's sort of like an intercultural insult sometimes. But it's inappropriate for people who are not black to use the term. And the reasons for that is because it's not about, for example, I'm allowed to call myself anything I want to. I can say, oh, I'm so stupid, I forgot, my computer at home. But no one is allowed to call me stupid. That's an insult, right? Every culture has its words or its phrases that they use to kind of insult each other, or it's an intercultural joke. But other people outside that culture can't use that joke. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it, definitely.
So for me, so nigga is a word that, like, a lot of people, especially people who are white, were using, and they think it's okay. And they think they don't understand why they should be able to use it. But my song is really trying to put in the simplest terms why it's inappropriate for people who are white to use the term nigga. Because it's not about you. It's not about you. You are not part of my culture. And there's nothing wrong. You have your own culture. But you're not part of my culture, and you don't understand the context or the framing or the history of the word, so simply don't use it.
Yeah. You're totally right.
So that's what the song is about. And it's not about hating anyone or excluding anyone. I love everyone. And I appreciate the cultures of other people. I really do. I think the world would be a dismal place if we were all just alike.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I really appreciate other people, and I'm able to do that because I also really appreciate who I am as a woman who is black. So it gives me room to love who other people are. So
cool.
The song is about respect.
Yeah, that's great. Respect. So stick around. We will be back in a minute. Let's listen to one of your great songs. By the way, the music, was it produced by the DJ you mentioned before?
Yes, DJ Khalab.
DJ Khalab. All the music is produced by him, right?
All the music is. It's also Tamar Kulakuter. She's also on the album too. Yeah.
Okay.
So she's a dope musician with a dope band.
Okay, so let's listen to your song.
Because you ain't my comrade. You have not felt the rage of watching your people beaten, raped, hung, your outrage shouted down by oppressors claiming victimhood, and having no recourse except silence. Feel your skin grow tight around your body, trying to contain anger that has become a family heirloom, generation to generation, watching from the belly button window, born understanding that they will not be understood. They will be underestimated, underprivileged, underserved. The anger turns itself inward, pushing from within. Fight or flight. I'd rather you called me nigger. Say what you mean. I live as an accoutrement to your life. Entertainment, anthropological study, a paragraph in a history book. You are Atlas, contemplating shrugging. My shoulders are heavy, but you claim the burden. Don't call me nigga. You ain't from where I'm from. I was raised at the intersection of Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey. The village warned the children to be careful of what they said in front of white folks, so we became bicolloquial. Ambrosia and Kool-Aid, high-rises, low rents, drinking champagne out of plastic cups, whispering the ideals of black nationalists while mouthing the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see? You can't see me. Been living beside you for hundreds of years, building communities brick by brick, but you can't hear me. Been here before Isabella commissioned it. We kings, we queens among cave dwellers. You don't know me. You can't call me nigga because you don't believe in black angels. Haven't accepted the fact that a blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus would have died in the desert. You haven't accepted the fact that black represents the presence of all things. Black is everything. The spirit of God is black. You can't call me nigga because the word is code for brother, and we ain't kin like that. Your appropriation of my culture has not been by my permission. Don't call me nigga because my humanity is more important than your swag. Because Dylan Roof was not a lone gunman. He walked into that church on a foundation laid by white supremacists. He will be tried by a system that perpetuates white supremacy. His actions were motivated by propaganda promoted by pop culture. You can't call me nigga because 5-year-olds should never have to play dead on church floors. My niggas understand a part of me that rose up from the ashes of the antebellum South, but still feel the rawness of chains. My niggas understand that racism is a white man's madness. Because the South lost the war, because of the Gen of Six, Nia Wilson, Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, gentrification, the achievement gap, mass incarceration, police brutality, because the branches of our government bear strange fruit. Because, fuck you. White people can't call me nigga because they don't know who they are. To be a nigga or to not be a nigga? That is the question. It's a conversation that white folks simply are not invited to.
All right, we're back with Tenesha. Am I pronouncing your name right?
You are.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Tenesha.
Okay, cool, Tenesha. Yes, I'm not a native speaker. You know that, right?
No, I was reading, listening to your older broadcasts, and I know that. That's dope.
Yeah. I speak Spanish and German and also English. Yes. Have you ever been to Latin America, South America? What do you know about South America?
I only know what I've read in books. Yeah. It's one of the places that I would love to visit because of the music.
Yeah,
and
really good
the people, yeah, the music.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. and the dancing and the culture. I would love to visit. I haven't I haven't always had the opportunity to travel the way I have now, so it's definitely one of the places that I would love to go and experience.
Hmm. So what's kind of your philosophy in life as a musician, as a writer? What does music mean to you?
I think that it's. I'm glad you asked this question because I was thinking about it today. Music really is medicine.
Yeah.
I'm someone who's an introvert, so when I write, my pen doesn't allow me to lie about anything, and so that's sort of my philosophy as a writer, that the pen won't let me lie. And music is sort of medicine, to heal, during that writing process. A friend of mine just passed away, and she left a CD, and for me, she gave it to me before she died, and I listened to the CD over and over again, and it's just healing, to hear the music that she listened to. So music is really, it is medicine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's right. And do you have any piece of advice for new musicians, like dreaming of making a living out of music?
Yeah. Be persistent,
Yeah.
and study your craft. I think a lot of people have raw talent,
Yeah.
but they think that raw talent is what will carry them. But truly, if you look at any of the greatest musicians, they really studied their craft. They understood the history of what they were doing, and they were really masters of their craft.
Yeah.
They listened intently. And that's my advice, is to study your craft. Don't just follow trends, but truly pave something new for yourself.
Yeah. You mentioned you consider yourself an introvert person. Do you consider yourself to be a sensitive one too?
I am sensitive.
Yeah.
I am. I'm good at hiding it, though.
Okay, that's great. Is there something you like to do the old-fashioned way? Are you like a sort of a techie kind of person? Do you like technology, social media, and stuff, or is there something you always still do the old-fashioned way, so to say?
I still write within a journal. Yeah, I don't type everything in the computer necessarily. I still write with a pencil and paper.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much old-fashioned already, right? And these days of social media and stuff. Are you everywhere on Instagram and Twitter and stuff?
I'm on Instagram as T Smith Douglas, and I think I'm on Twitter the same way. I'm not sure. But you can definitely find Tenesha the Wordsmith on Facebook.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. What comes next? Do you have any projects coming next? Are you working on any new projects, or maybe a tour? And anything you would like to announce here on the podcast?
I am working on my second album with On the Corner, but it will be my actual third album. My first album was Body of Work, which is also something that can be found on Bandcamp. But my third album, I'm hoping, I haven't spoken to my label yet, but I'm hoping to be able to be finished with it pretty soon and for it to be out by the fall. But look for it. It's tentatively titled Raise Girl. And I think it's very personal, but at the same time, and it's a little bit more personal. It's fun. And I just hope people love it and can connect to it.
That's cool. So I like to finish the podcast with a few quick fire questions. Would you like to be part of?
Sure.
Okay, cool. What takes too much of your time?
Uh, household chores.
Oh yeah. Me too. What do you drink when you go to a bar?
Um, Riesling. I love Riesling.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Hmm.
Were you a rebel when you were at school? Like, were you sent to the principal's office?
Almost all the time.
Really?
All the time, yeah.
Do you speak other languages? What languages do you speak?
I don't speak any other language.
Can you teach us? Do you have any favorite like idiom or slang word or phrase that you always say?
I always say that's dope.
Dope.
I use the word dope a lot.
Dope.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
With dope.
Yeah, that's great. Because my podcast is actually intended sort of give the opportunity to the people in my country, because people like to learn English here, but it's kind of difficult for most of the people. So it's always I always like to teach them a lot of idioms, slang words, and things. I think it's a great way to learn from another culture.
I think that's dope.
Yeah,
That's
dope.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And if I say something is dope, that means I really like it.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever thought about going vegan? Are you or are you a vegan or vegetarian?
I'm not a vegan, but I have thought about becoming a pescatarian, like only eating fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do respect veganism because I think it is an extremely healthy way to live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't know if I can give up fish. I don't think I can give up sushi.
Yeah. Oh, sushi's great. Yeah. Love it too.
Yeah.
Do you? I don't know how old are you, but do you have like a clear? Do you remember what was life before the internet? Do you prefer life before or after internet?
I am old enough to remember when they were talking to me. I was in, must have been in the second grade, and they were just developing the internet and they were introducing it to us, the school. And I think that there's a part of me that almost prefers life before it, because I don't remember so much anxiety before the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the word you use, anxiety. It's like sort of the word that defines the new generation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like we know too much and we don't know necessarily what to do with the information.
Yeah. And I think these days of the coronavirus, kind of we are realizing how fast everything has gone. Because I think the internet has changed everything, right?
Yes. Yeah. It has. And some great things are happening with the internet. Social justice. A lot of people have used it for that reason.
Or this
I love
podcast,
seeing
right?
what's going. Yeah, this podcast, all those great things are happening. I think we, as we get more and more accustomed to the internet and social media, we'll learn how to use it more responsibly.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Is there anything that keeps you up at night? What keeps you up at night? Or do you sleep like? Very well.
I'm a night owl, so I stay up late.
Oh, yeah.
What keeps me up at night is unfinished work. Like if I don't finish a poem, or if I come to a place where I don't know how to finish a poem or a project, that will keep me up all night.
And final question. What's the best piece of advice you've ever got?
The best piece of advice I ever gotten was that most pain is caused by not the inability to let go, a lack of acceptance. So I think like someone gave me a rock that says it is what it is. And I think that that's some of the best advice I've ever been, like acceptance. That doesn't mean being passive or being ambivalent, but sometimes you have to accept something for what it is and move on from that place. And I think that's, for me, the best advice I've ever been given.
Tenesha, I would like to thank you for your words, for your music, for your poems, and for being part of this little podcast, this little underground podcast recorded in the Amazonian rainforest. That's the place where I live. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed. Did you like it? Did you have fun?
I did have fun. I enjoyed speaking to you, and I'm fascinated. I hope that I can visit the Amazon rainforest one day. I would love to do that.
Whenever you're here, just let me know, and I will tell you what places. There are beautiful places here, like lots of waterfalls and the whole nature, the ecosystems, the animals. It's a really great place. Biodiversity, like that's like the key word to describe this place.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We will end the show with another song, with Peacocks and Other Savage Beasts. That's also one of your songs, right, from the same album?
Yes, the title track.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great night there.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay.
I will only tell the part of the story that belongs to me. The peacock hung out in the park, his feathers spread wide, his plumage bigger than his body. My sister and I admired him from a distance. Richmond, California. The men in front of the corner store always talked too loud. Their hands were always moving. They became part of our landscape. Their curse words, city sounds. My sister and I dug in the dirt, curbside, looking for worms. Peahens are choosy lovers. Rare gifts, risky endeavors have made her selective. Sometimes, Mama took us to the corner store. She walked us past the men. They stared and called to her. Their hands moved. Peacocks spread their tails, blue and green and yellow. Peahens know that such ostentatious display is impractical in the wild. Mama moved past them like they were ghosts. She brought us ices, the big ones. We ate our ices, the taste of dirt and sugar coating our tongues. Memories, sweet and disgusting. Peacocks shake their tails, their ocelli becoming 100 glossy, staring eyes. Mama's eyes, glossy and red. My sister and I stared, her hands outstretched to us. Words moved around us. Forced entry, sneaky men, loiterers, robbery. We hid the words inside ourselves until they became sharp-ended quills that etched our mother's truth on the inside of our chests. The rest is Mama's story. She never spoke it. We never lost the aftertaste of sugar and dirt.